Today I gave a lecture on multisensory methods. So this extends what we did yesterday with Dawn, thinking about sound and about rhythm, but asked students to think more critically about a range of senses and how they might impact the ethnographic process. So we started by thinking about smell and about taste and its connection to nostalgia and memory. So we did a nice exercise with students where they sort of tasted a few things from my childhood, smelled a few things from my childhood that connected to home, and then I asked them to think about, I guess, their own connections to memory and to home, to then think about how we can use all of the senses in the ethnographic research process. My own research engages quite a lot with the sex industry and thinking about sexual space.
It's kind of a closed door or a curtain, so you have to pass through a barrier in order to get there. And then when you sit down, they often have red velvet or something that kind of evokes a sort of a sensuous sexuality, right? People smoke in these places sometimes, so sometimes there's cigarette smoke. People definitely drink. The smell of alcohol is like palpable. People end up vomiting at some point as well. So when you go out into the street, you know, the smell of urine, the smell of vomit, all of these things become part of the experience.
So today we've sent the students to an area of Paris sort of known for its red light district, known for having a sort of high volume of sex shops in a relatively small area. So we've sent them to Pigalle, which is where the Moulin Rouge is located. The sort of original cabaret, and we've asked them to go into different sex shops. There's some what we call sex superstores, thinking about what they find there, asking them to engage all of their senses, as well as their kind of emotional responses to different items that they come across.
My name's Lauren Greehey. I'm just completed the first year of my PhD at the University of Manchester, and I'm studying human geography. So we've been looking at the contested nature and the spatial kind of patterning of sex shops and sex work within Pigalle in Paris, and it's been really quite fascinating to explore how simultaneously open and closed off these spaces are to members of the public and to visiting tourists as well. So specifically, Jack and I, we've been looking at odor and smells in space and how their scent can trigger particular emotions and particular memories in many instances. So we've been documenting all of the odors that we encounter, how they're making us feel, and how that kind of spatial pattern of these odors is dispersed, and how they're also simultaneously concentrated as well, and how it can move and change over time and throughout the spaces that we've explored. It's getting more practice and experience with using more creative methods in deploying and recording those kind of olfactory encounters for me in particular, and also just using other forms of sensory perception. So referring to an olfactory encounter in relation to something that you've seen, a person that you've encountered, a memory that you have with, say, a relative or something. So it's just creating that very complex interweaving mesh and mosaic of smell in everyday life for me.
So in the debrief we discussed what we found. A lot of people were talking about the layout of these shops, how some of the items were really clearly on display at the front, they weren't hidden from view. We also noticed how there was a dark sort of spaces in these shops. There weren't any big windows, letting in lots of natural light, which was another area that we noticed was characteristic of these shops. And we looked at some of the maps that we were making. So as part of the analysis that we conducted, we wanted to see what the layout of the shops were, and what sort of smells, sights, feelings that we got when we were going in and out of these shops, kind of trying to take into account the sort of emotional sort of atmosphere that we felt.
A lot of the groups have had very good contributions, looking at bringing forward ideas on colour, especially on smell, the soundscapes of the city, like contrasting the main road, the centrepiece where you had access to the public transport, then the actual kind of atmosphere and the ambience created by the sex shops using colour, the smells of the products that they're selling, and it's just been really fascinating.